the meeting at 7:29.
Okay, if we're ready to continue still, we'll go right into the Intergovernmental Relations Committee meeting at 7:29. Present are committee members Glassburn, Schuman, and Heeman, as well as council members Limpert, Kelly, Williamson, and President Jones. The mayor, our assistant law director, Mr. O'Malley, finance director, and our chair of the Charter Review Commission, Mr. Sturgeon, and guests. On the agenda tonight are 2020-65 through 70. We have a handful of additional pieces of information that Director Kopfer and I have each, and the law department have each sent to you in different forms. But I think what might be easiest is to start with Director Kopfer, if I'm not putting her too much on the spot, to highlight if there was any additional conversation or meaning to the costs from the Board of Elections that she got today.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I had spoken to someone yesterday, and I think you spoke to the same person, Mr. Chair, regarding it being an even numbered year. So in presidential and gubernatorial elections, you don't have a cost, like a general cost associated with the election. They pick up that cost. However, there's on the off years, you still have ballot printing and advertising and distributing those ballots. And because it's a presidential election, they're expecting a large turnout. So, excuse me, so they won't know how many they're going to print for a while. But the gentleman I spoke with estimated, I think, was it $4,500? I don't have it right in front of me. And for the cost of that for the city of North Olmsted. And additionally, it may be less because they don't know if there's going to be like county issues or, you know, any issues, maybe a school issue or whatever. They don't know what's on there yet exactly until August. So we won't have an exact number. I can tell you something interesting is that we have a $1,200 charge that from November of 19's election that I think was because of the Rocky River court issue, we had to pay a share of it. And it's $1,200 and we still haven't gotten, it hasn't come out of our county property taxes yet. So it's not necessarily going to be in this year's budget. And who knows, it may not even be in next year's budget at the rate they're going for reimbursing, asking for reimbursement. So, but it's not substantial.
Okay. So I did not get I got the spreadsheet, Director, that you sent around. It appears that for those we'll call printing marginal costs, that they divide the shares equally by entity, state, federal, county, school district, city, special taxing district. So it would appear that well, for 16, it was, as you close to what you said, $43.67. It also has a notation on the front end of the spreadsheet that for communities that were 3 pages, that it was, I did the math, 17% more for a 3rd page. I don't know, did they express at all to you that if the 3rd page or an additional page is required, if that additional page is split proportionally, or if whoever's last on the ballot pays it, or do they give you any kind of information towards that?
Yes, the gentleman I spoke with, I'm drawing a blank and I can't find the email with me, but he said that it's not necessarily if you have more than 1 page. So, we were told, he said that what we were told yesterday regarding if there's an extra page we would have to pay, that's not necessarily true. It's just if you have issues on the ballot. And they come up with like a per precinct cost in each city. and that's how they allocate it out. So if there was like a, like in Westlake, if there was a library issue on the ballot for just Westlake, that would be, we wouldn't bear that burden. But if it was Cuyahoga County Library, we would probably pay a share of it. So it depends. So that's the best I could get. And I don't think that it's substantial if you're concerned about it. I mean, we've had $30,000 years when it wasn't a presidential election. So if it's something you feel should happen, then you should do it. And if you don't, then you won't want to do it next year, because then it's an off year and we will have to pay for it all.
Okay, thank you, Director. If that additional page is shared, doing the quick math, that would increase it from roughly $4,400 to about $5,100 if we're proportionally sharing it. So we'll say, just for sake of argument, it's with inflation $5,500, and Chuck was very kind to do the research, the advertising cost for 6 issues at 2015 rates, which they assured us they would keep. That would be $2,880. So we're looking at a high-end cost of about $8,000. If we had 5 issues, it'd be about $7,500, and go down from there by increments of about $500 until we get down to 1. So for those who are looking at costs. So I had 2 issues that I brought up on Tuesday, issues 65 and 67. Mr. O'Malley was kind enough to draft the amendments that I proposed and sent around in form, and you all now have those. I think maybe we'll just take them in order unless anyone on the committee objects. And we'll start with 65, the Recreation Commission. The amendment that I would offer at our full council meeting tonight would be to, in effect, reverse the order of the clauses in the ballot language. It doesn't change the substantive language of the proposal, but would put designating the responsibilities from volunteers to the administration and council first, and then put the abolishment of the commission second. I believe the commission and a number of members of council who participated in the commission's meetings felt strongly that if we were going to go forward with this, we should present it in a way that would be acceptable to the public. So that is what I'm trying to achieve with this amendment. Is there any discussion on 65, starting first with committee? Ms. Heeman, and then Mr. Schuman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm completely fine with the amendments. I understood them completely. I sort of reviewed them even before they were submitted. You had some drafts you circulated the other day, so I think that they should stand as they are amended. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schuman.
Mr. Chairman, I'm fine with the amendments also. I'm still a little concerned that this is going to be a tough sell, but I think it seems like it's going to be worth it at this point. And I think what you and Mr. O'Malley worked out is perfectly acceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. I saw the mayor. Mr. Mayor, would you like to make a comment?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, this question is for Brian O'Malley. Would the Board of Elections have any problems with the amendments we made to these charter issues?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, no, I don't believe so, but I haven't specifically spoken with anyone at the Board of Elections. But no, I don't believe there would be any objection to this ballot language any more so than there would be an objection to the ballot language that was initially proposed.
Okay. And did you speak to Law Director Garreau by chance, and he said the same thing, probably?
Yes. Well, okay. Not to that specific question, but he was party to the review process and approved.
Okay. Good. Thank you. That's all I have.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Limpert.
Yeah, I guess my only concern with the language was, and this isn't 65, so should I bring up 67 or should I wait till we move to that?
Let's hold off on 67 because there's a couple decisions I think in that to be made concurrently, but let's stick with 65 just for the moment.
Okay, no comment then. I think what everybody said makes sense.
Okay. If we're in a rough consensus on that, the procedure that I've been advised to do is for us for amendments to recommend them or not recommend them to the full body in committee, but to make amendments on actually at council tonight. So we won't amend this right now, but it looks like we have a consensus on this. We'll now move on to 67. 67 is the amendment concerning our, I'm sorry, before I do, Mr. Sturgeon, did you have any comments or any thoughts, or are you good on 65?
No, I'm fine with that, with everything, the new amendment and everything. And I just hope that on this particular amendment that council is not afraid to spend any money on this, to put this, anything like this up on the ballot. To my understanding, it doesn't matter if we put one thing on the ballot or 5 things on the ballot or 10 things on the ballot. The cost is all going to be the same. I'd like to think that money's not going to be an issue, and if we're going to use one thing. And I also would like to add, I think that it might be, in order to get something like this passed, it might be a good idea to try to educate the voters and the residents in some way, so it doesn't look like we're taking something from them, when we're using a word like abolish. Maybe if we put a sign up at the rec center or flyers or something with questions and answers and showing how council feels, why we're trying to do this, and let them know that the last 2 charter review commissions did recommend this, and council's recommending it, and they did the last time also. And I think a good educated voter on something like that, I think that this would pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Heeman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Sturgeon, to that point, we do advertise, which I know it doesn't, wholly take care of the issue. I did go through my ward the last time that we had charter changes on the ballot, and I went door to door to explain them. And so perhaps you might want to be involved in that process as the committee chair, and maybe other council members will go through their wards, or the at-large folks will help, because sometimes voters don't understand because they've not read through the entire charter anyway, and now that we're changing it, they're only seeing the amended language, and they don't have the comparative viewpoint and analysis. So I would encourage all of us to do our work on that for the voters. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, with appearing to have no other takers on 65, I'll move on to 67. 67 concerns our meetings. The amendment, or the charter amendment, as originally proposed from the law department, would not only allow us to change locations of meetings and have electronic meetings, but specifically would remove the clauses that mandate that we have 2 meetings, that specifies when our vacation can be, and that the mayor can recall us. What I am offering are 2 changes. One is to change the ballot language to remove the 2 meeting clause, because it, to my mind, and I believe the Charter Commission's mind, that was not the main thrust of the proposal. The main thrust was to allow us to choose the time and date and location, so to speak. And then secondly, I am offering as an amendment the substantive change to the language that's not the ballot language, but the full amendment language, which would put back in the requirement that we have the 2 meetings, allows or specifies our vacation time, and that the mayor can recall us. So it's just not eliminating that clause that was being eliminated in the original version. So I'll open it up to committee first. Mr. Schuman?
I'm comfortable with both of those changes. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Schuman. Ms. Heeman?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, I'm also very pleased with the changes that have been made, and this amendment is, I think, very well suited. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Limpert, you are first on the rest of the council.
Thanks. Yeah, I don't like that it mentions a specific platform. I think it would, even without that, people understand what an internet-based platform is for meetings. And I don't really think we should have a specific company's name in the charter so that 30 years from now, people say, what the heck is Zoom.com? So just my thought. I don't think it's necessary and don't really think we need it.
I'm going to open it up to Mr. O'Malley if he has any opinion or statement on that. I will say that I'm not, I believe it's just the ballot language that references Zoom. I don't know that the actual amendment language does, but I would, I'd have to check that again. Mr. O'Malley, do you have any comment on the issue?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I agree with Mr. Limpert's observation, and the substantive language does not reference Zoom.com. It says at such locations and or via electronic methods. Electronic methods, I suppose, could be telephonic, not necessarily video. But I would agree with Mr. Limpert's observation, because there could be any number of different platforms other than Zoom.com.
So, Mr. O'Malley, could we still proceed tonight during the regular meeting with changing the ballot language, and we'll just remove the Zoom.com and put electronic meetings in its place? And still maintain
Mr. Chairman, yes.
Okay. I suspect that we would all be fine with that, but I'll open it back up. Ms. Heeman?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, you know, we don't even need to add anything. We only just need to delete, because the ballot language says to conduct council meetings via internet-based platforms like Zoom.com. So it could just end at internet-based platforms. Mr. O'Malley, would that be correct or not?
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
That sounds even simpler to me. I apologize, it's hard to reference the legislation while watching everyone's video feeds. Are there any other comments on 67? Mr. Surgeon, please go ahead.
I just want to, I don't have the new thing in front of me, but I just want to know, is it still going to say this is strictly only for an emergency time, not to be, you know, used at any other time but an emergency?
So I apologize if I end up putting Mr. O'Malley on the spot, but I'll try to answer first. And if I say anything wrong, I hope he will correct me. I don't believe that it's conditional on emergency in the first place. The amendment I'm offering in even modified form doesn't address that one way or another. I believe what it does is it puts the discretion at that 2/3 of council has to vote for it, but it doesn't classify it as an emergency in any way. Law Director Garreau had initially, I believe he did it that way because when both President Jones and I made our proposals, we each had contingencies for what an emergency would be, and he was concerned that those were too narrowly fixed. Mr. O'Malley, if you have any corrections or any other observations you'd like to offer from the law department view?
Mr. Chair, thank you. There is this section 7 meetings in the charter, subsections A and B. The proposal is limited to subsection A, regular meetings. The reference to 24 hours advance notice for emergency, special meetings, etc. That's all in subsection B, and that section of the charter is not part of this amendment.
Okay.
So to answer Mr. Sturgeon's questions, the the charter as it reads now would continue to read the same as it does. It's not, there's no proposal to change or eliminate that special meeting requirement as it now reads in the charter.
Okay, thank you. Appears Mr. Sturgeon, you're satisfied for the moment?
I am, yes. One other real quick question regarding this.
Yes.
Does it also say anything in there where this is for everyone? It's not for one person only, everybody on council who still has to do this. Otherwise, somebody can't be out of town and they can try to do an electronic meeting. It's either going to be for all or none.
Yes, it's for the entire body is how it is addressed. It's not for individual members. So as much as everyone likes to see the book collection as I have, you can only do that if everyone agrees, or 2/3 of us agree. So, and everyone else has an opportunity to show their books as well. Ms. Heeman, I believe you had your hand up.
Yeah, I don't need to speak further. Mr. Sturgeon was satisfied. I was going to just try and explain a little better for him if he, because the whereas clauses specify the reason that, in the ordinance that we're wanting to change the charter. And that's where it specifies, due to COVID and these other circumstances that the House bill that was passed to be able to do this. So it's a little bit of the background, Mr. Sturgeon, is in the ordinance, but not in the charter change. Thank you.
Okay, so any other comments, questions, concerns on 67? Okay. The process, as I understand it, is that we should go through and vote as a committee on recommending the rest of these to the full body. Unless there's any other comments, questions, or concerns on any of these to be discussed, I would be inclined to go ahead and do that one at a time. Mr. Massarolo?
Sorry, Mr. Chair. I just want to, since you guys are recommending making an amendment to the 67 that wasn't sent out to council, maybe Director Malley can say if we need to or not, or Assistant Director Malley, but I believe you need to make that amendment in here, and then you'll need to do that one again out there because you are changing the language in committee from what you sent out earlier.
Okay, so is the correct procedure then that I amend this now and then we'll vote on 67 later?
Yeah, I would amend 67 now, and then you'll vote on it again later in the regular council meeting as well.
Okay. All right. In that case, if it is the pleasure of the body or pleasure of the committee, I'll move to amend 2020-67's ballot language to be revised to shall Article 4, Section 7 of the Charter of the City of North Olmsted entitled Meetings be amended to authorize the City Council to establish its meeting calendar dates, times, location. I'm sorry, I'm missing the version that we changed. Let me find the correct version here. Okay. My apologies to everyone.
Mr. Chair, I can share if you pass me the ball. I have it up right now.
Okay, I got it. Thank you. The motion would be shall Article 4, Section 7 of the Charter of the City of North Olmsted entitled Meetings be amended to authorize City Council to establish its meeting calendar, dates, times, locations, and to permit the council to conduct City Council meetings via internet-based platforms. That would be the final language. And I would ask for a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Schuman. All those in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
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 Okay, that amendment passes 3-0. I'll write that down. Okay, now, Chuck, are we good to go ahead with each of the items one at a time? Great. Okay, at this time, I would move to,
Mr. Chairman,
yes, Mr. O'Malley?
correct me if my recollection is in error, but perhaps you should follow the same procedure for 65 that you just deployed on 67. I don't know that you adopted the amendments on 65.
My understanding was I was supposed to do 65 and 67 on the floor. Is that still correct, Chuck?
Mr. Chair, I would defer to the Assistant Law Director, but since you've already sent that amendment out, I didn't think it needed to be done in committee, but if the Assistant Law Director says it should, then I'd follow his advice.
For sake of consistency, you just did it on 67, so I would recommend that you go back and do it on 65, and I think the process is going to be repeated before the entire council.
Okay, then I suppose we should also do an amendment on the substantive language of 67 as well then, since that was not in my motion. We just did the ballot language. Okay, so I'll take these one at a time. We'll do 65. I apologize, I will do this as quickly as I can. At this time, I will move that we amend 2020-65 concerning the Recreation Commission ballot language to read, shall Article 7, Section 3 of the Charter of the City of North Olmsted be amended to reallocate the responsibilities of the Parks and Recreation Commission to the full-time staff of the City of North Olmsted, and thereby abolish the Parks and Recreation Commission and its required duties for volunteers. And I will ask for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Schuman. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 3-0. That at 65 is amended. And then I will move to further amend 67 in the actual substantive language of the amendment at Section 7 meetings to read, for Section A to read as follows. Section A, regular meetings, the council shall meet, striking in council chambers, keeping at such times and at such locations and or via electronic methods as may be prescribed by its rules, regulations, ordinances, or bylaws, however, not less than twice during each calendar month, excepting the council may provide for its vacation during the months of July or August, and during such period is subject to the call of the mayor. And I'll ask for a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Schuman. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And that is 3-0 as well. So we amended 3-0 on all of those. Okay, now, if I have the procedure correctly, are we good to go on voting on each amendment as the whole? All right. So we'll start with 65 concerning the Recreation Commission. At this time, I will move to recommend to the full body of council 2020-65 and ask for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Schuman. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
3-0 on 65. Okay. At this time, I will move to recommend to council Ordinance 2020-66 concerning the detachment of land and ask for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Schuman. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, 3-0. Okay. At this time, I will move that we recommend to council Ordinance 2020-67 concerning council meetings and ask for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Schuman. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
3-0. Okay. I will now move to recommend to council that we recommend Ordinance 2020-68 concerning the form of legislative action, and I will ask for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Schuman. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
No. No.
Thank you. So that will be recommended on a 2-to-1 vote. Now move to recommend ordinance 2020-69 concerning the Charter Review Commission's appointment and meeting schedule, and ask for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Schuman. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. 3-0 for 69. And finally, I will move that we recommend to full council ordinance 2020-70 concerning public meetings and electronic public meetings, and ask for a second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Schuman. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
3-0. With that, I will conclude the Intra-Governmental Relations Committee at 8 o'clock and hand things over to Council President Jones. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Mr. Sturgeon and Mr. O'Malley, for your help tonight.